Marvel's Avengers is a game which tries to appeal to many types of gamers. A cinematic story with tons of set pieces to a loot-based RPG with way more depth than most people would expect. Put bluntly, Marvel's Avengers wants your time for many years to come. And although nothing here is revolutionary, there is something very special in the making. This is my 30-hour review of Marvel's Avengers to help you decide if this is the game for you. And spoiler alert, I like it. Marvel's Avengers is split into two elements, the campaign and the online cooperative RPG mode known as the Avengers Initiative. Both offer vastly different experiences. From the opening moments of the campaign, it's easy to see that this is a Marvel game made by fans, as everywhere we look, we see Easter eggs and constant fan service. The main character of Kamala Khan is a brilliant choice to lead the reassembling of the Avengers after the events of A-Day. Her positivity and constant fangirling would usually be an annoyance, but Kamala is written and acted to perfection. She's lovable and her personality becomes infectious, which again comes down to the stellar writing and voice acting on show here. The narrative is another strong element, as those returning Avengers finally reunite to take down MODOK and AIM, and the cutscenes depict his slow descent into madness taking many hours to come to fruition. The story beats feel directly out of a Marvel comic book, with each Avenger having their time to shine in a campaign running around 8 to 10 hours in length. The Avengers we play as all feel drastically different and will undoubtedly add replayability to both the campaign and the online Avengers Initiative. For example, we don't get much of it, but the free running of Captain America was unlike any other character, and Thor's fighting style? Well, let's just say if you liked playing as the God of War on PS4, you'll feel right at home with his abilities. Throwing Mjolnir and summoning it back to your hand never got old, and I played as Thor for 20 hours straight. Similarly, the super abilities of each character felt distinctive, such as Kamala's high five or Black Widow's invisibility cloak. But here lies an issue. How can Hulk smashing an enemy into oblivion and Black Widow punching a foe have the same output? This really becomes an issue which breaks the immersion. Why does Thor need to hit a henchman 12 times to take them down? This is the element of the game which has been adapted to make all the Avengers as balanced as possible, even when it doesn't seem like it should be. But if it didn't, we'd all simply pick Hulk. Marvel's Avengers does attempt to keep other areas of the lore safe, using Thor as an example. His hammer cannot be lifted by anyone unworthy, so when a hammer is on the chest of an enemy, they are stuck there until Thor sees fit. As we continue playing, loot is thrown at us. Each element of our character is upgradable, from bracelets to bone density and everything in between, but here's why that fails as a concept. Nothing changes on the character at all. Each new piece of gear we find has zero impact on the aesthetics. For example, we find a new chest piece and apply it, and nothing happens. It's all background numbers and nothing is reflected in a way which makes us want to chase the loot. In other loot-based video games, each item is reflected on your character. Unlocking a full set of armor was a real reward, but here, this concept is tossed to the side for something you may find sinister or just another part of video games in 2020. A real money marketplace in which outfits are bought and applied to your characters. There are free versions too, but at the core, the reason we don't see Iron Man slowly evolve in-game is to incentivize us to buy a costume instead. And coincidentally, there is a mission in the game which perfectly sums up why seeing our character armor update is great. By the time the credits roll, we've learned the basics of online play, using the war table to navigate and continue new elements of the story, but right away the story beats evaporate. There are cutscenes and conjecture, but the quality we saw in the campaign is nowhere to be seen now. Don't get me wrong, there are some inventive missions, but nothing comes close to that of the campaign. And similarly, the fighting mechanics we learned over the story are removed too. Take the Taskmaster fight at the start of the campaign. We learned to time a dodge and return fire at the right moment. We learned how to attack with tactical awareness, and now look at the Taskmaster boss fight in the multiplayer portion. The difference is unnerving. The fighting online alongside other people is boiled down to mindless button bashing. The Abomination fight is exactly the same. There is a huge weakness with online boss fights, as right now, the week of release, there are no mechanics in sight. If we take the game which is the closest comparison, Destiny, who had a similar launch to this, the boss fights in there require precision to find weak spots. They require knowledge of timing, and occasionally it was about being in the perfect place and understanding the boss's movements. But here in Marvel's Avengers, it's 10 minutes of spamming the buttons and hoping you don't die. So you may think at this point that I dislike this game, when in fact, I think I'm addicted. And it all comes down to the loot system. We've looked at why it doesn't work in a visual sense, but underneath that, the depth of the loot system is mind-blowing. During the first 25 to about 40 hours of your adventure, you'll simply be pressing one button to choose the highest power level you can. The game relies on this system above all else, but then, once you've reached the endgame content, no pun intended, your understanding of your inventory is vital. Visiting the frozen lands with an item to stop you freezing your butt off becomes integral. On the flip side, having a weapon attack that deals gamma damage can make an impossible mission accomplishable. The nuance of the loot system has a great deal of potential. On top of this, by unlocking skill points in the game, we can now change our super abilities to function slightly different. They're only tweaks, but we can build a character unique to us. Then the mastery of min-maxing comes in which you build an Avenger designed for one single job in a full team. Be honest, did that bore you to tears, or did that make you want to grind for loot? For me, it's the latter. I want to build a Thor that can one-tap an enemy with a hammer throw. Without a doubt, this is the appeal of Marvel's Avengers, power leveling a hero and putting together 6 builds for every fight you can imagine. Reaching perfection is the goal here. I use Destiny as the best parallel as to the direction of Marvel's Avengers. Both share huge similarities. The world has hubs to visit. At present, that's the Anthill and the Chimera. In here, we can see the faction system at work as we pick up missions and gear in a never-ending cycle of incremental improvement. The mundane grind continues through daily and weekly challenges. Over my 20 hours online, I played a mixture of alone, with people from my Discord, and other complete randoms too. And once again, this is where the game felt great. The social aspect of games like this can't be understated. A weekly meetup with friends as you switch your brains off and finish missions together. I played with one random guy for 3 hours before they sent me a DM, and we'll likely play together again soon. There's something about games like this, like Marvel's Avengers, that bring people together. And as a guy who plays Fortnite, this interaction was humbling. Another aspect, which may be new to you, is waiting. Yeah, it's not great. On numerous occasions, you will be waiting in an elevator or sat on the Quinjet waiting for a mission to begin. It can feel like forever, but once again, those people who play these types of games know that this is part of the cycle. Things need to load, and on console at least, it takes a great deal of time. I timed one mission which had over 3 minutes of load times, either waiting in the Quinjet or hidden away in an elevator. Next gen could help this issue, I believe, but on the PS4 at least right now, waiting is not great. Here's the biggest thing to take about the Marvel's Avengers game. It isn't finished. It will likely never be finished, and I know that sounds strange. This is a game as a service which will continually be patched and iterated upon. Only this week we found out that the new heroes are coming, which are Clint and Katie and their Hawkeye alter egos. Those will be free updates which add a backstory, hopefully to the quality of the campaign, and then they become whole new superheroes we have to learn how to fight with and learn the skills of. The thought of shooting arrows in game right now seems great. And remember, even more characters are continually coming to the game. Whether that's Black Panther, or if you're on PlayStation, we're gonna get Spider-Man. By adding new characters, the game becomes increasingly replayable. And if we have a new superhero to flex with, then maybe we'll go out of our way and use real money to buy a skin too. How do you feel about that? So much more is promised for the game, and if they get things right, Marvel's Avengers can be something very, very special. So to summarise, the sublime story content and top-notch voice acting, the set-piece boss fights in the campaign bring Marvel's characters to life, and the addictive loot system all makes this game a great experience right now. But there are weaknesses too, with a focus on monetizing customers who've already paid full price for the game through skins and emotes, a lack of challenge beyond button bashing online, and a monotony many people won't stick around to play through. Marvel's Avengers is far from a final version, but the foundations in place are strong. My advice right now is to not buy the game just yet, pick it up when more content is available, unless you're into the loot grind like me, and if you are, I'll see you on the battlefield. I'm Adam from PlayStation Grenade, it's been a pleasure, hopefully this has helped in some way, shape or form. I'll see you next time.